I, 25F, have always had a complicated relationship with my mother. When I was growing up, she constantly talked about how she sacrificed everything for her kids after my father abandoned us. She divorced my father when I was 10 and my brother Alex, 23M, was 8. According to her version of events, my father was a workaholic who never cared about his family and chose his career over us. After the divorce, she got full custody of both of us. My father moved to another state for work, and we only saw him during summer breaks. As kids, we believed everything our mother told us about him. She would often remind us how he abandoned us and how she had to struggle alone to raise 2 kids while building her real estate business from scratch. Growing up, though, things weren't exactly as she portrayed them. While she was busy building her successful real estate empire, we spent most of our time with our grandmother or random babysitters. She was rarely home for dinner, missed most of our school events, and would often be too busy to help us with homework. But whenever anyone asked, she would go on and on about how she managed to balance everything as a single mother. About 5 years ago, she wrote a book about being a successful single mother. The book became quite popular in our area, and she started getting invited to speak at women's events. She even started a support group for divorced women, which currently has over 200 members. She presents herself as this inspirational figure who overcame all odds to raise her kids while building a successful business. My best friend Veronica, 25F, and I have been inseparable since middle school. We bonded over having divorced parents, as her parents split up during our high school years. Her father, James, 52M, is a property developer who regularly worked with my mother's real estate agency. Over the years, he bought and sold numerous properties through her, so they had a professional relationship. Veronica took her parents' divorce pretty hard, especially since it came out of nowhere. Her parents had seemed happy, and there were no obvious signs of trouble. Her mom was blindsided by the divorce request, and the whole thing got pretty messy. My mother actually used their story in her support group sessions as an example of how women should stay financially independent because men can leave it at any time. Things started getting weird about a year ago. My mother, who had always been focused on work, suddenly started paying more attention to her appearance. She joined a gym, started getting regular beauty treatments, bought a whole new wardrobe, and was constantly on her phone texting someone. Initially, I was happy thinking she might be dating someone. She deserved to find love again, and I was old enough to handle having a stepfather if it came to that. But then I started noticing some strange patterns. Every time we had dinner at Veronica's place, she lives with her dad, my mother would show up unannounced with some urgent document that needed James's signature. She joined the same yoga studio as James and would coincidentally run into him at various coffee shops around town. She even started shopping at a grocery store on the other side of town, which happened to be right next to his apartment complex. Veronica and I initially joked about how funny it would be if our parents were dating, but then things got more suspicious. My mother started lying about her whereabouts. She would tell me she had house showings, but Veronica would spot her car outside her father's apartment building. She would say she was at business dinners, but then we'd see her and James at restaurants in the next town over. The real confirmation came last week when I borrowed my mother's iPad to watch Netflix because my laptop was being repaired. She had forgotten to disable her message notifications, and I saw several messages pop up from James. Curiosity got the better of me, and I checked their conversation. I know I shouldn't have, but something felt off. What I discovered made me sick to my stomach. They had been having an affair for 8 months, but that wasn't even the worst part. Their messages revealed that the affair had started 3 months before James and Veronica's mom had finalized their divorce. There were messages where they discussed how to keep things secret until the divorce was final, and how they would eventually announce their relationship at my mother's upcoming 50th birthday party. The hypocrisy of it all made my blood boil. Here was my mother, who had built her entire identity around being this strong, independent single mom who helped other women through divorce, secretly dating a married man, technically married when they started, and helping him hide it from his wife and daughter. She had been preaching about women empowerment and sisterhood while betraying another woman in the worst possible way. I showed everything to Veronica, who was absolutely devastated. She had been feeling guilty about her parents' divorce, thinking maybe she had missed some signs or could have done something to prevent it. Now she knew the truth, that her father and my mother had orchestrated everything while pretending to be nothing more than business associates. Yesterday was my mother's 50th birthday party. She had gone all out, inviting about 100 people, including many women from her support group. The party was at an expensive venue, and she had even hired a professional photographer to document everything. During her speech about being a strong, independent woman who raised her children alone while building her business, something in me snapped. I stood up and exposed everything. I revealed their affair, showed screenshots of their messages, which I had saved, and told everyone how they had been sneaking around even before James's divorce was finalized. I told everyone how she had been lying not just to me and Veronica, but to all the women in her support group who looked up to her. Veronica, who was at the party with her mom, stood up and confirmed everything. The look on my mother's face changed from shock to anger to embarrassment within seconds. Many women from her support group, especially those who had been cheated on by their husbands, walked out immediately. James, who was also at the party, the audacity, tried to explain that it wasn't what it looked like, but ended up leaving when people started confronting him. My mother is now calling me ungrateful and saying I've ruined her reputation that she spent years building. My brother thinks I went too far by exposing her in public. My grandmother says I should have confronted her privately instead of humiliating her in front of everyone. But I don't regret anything because she had been lying to everyone for so long while pretending to be this perfect role model for divorced women. Veronica and I are still best friends, and she's actually thankful that I exposed the truth. My father, who I called to tell everything, said he was proud of me for standing up for what's right. But most of my mother's side of the family is upset with me for humiliating her publicly. They keep saying that dirty laundry should be washed at home, not in public. Ida for exposing their affair at her birthday party? She keeps saying I could have handled it differently, but I think she deserved it for being such a hypocrite. Edit: since many people are asking about Veronica's mom, she actually thanked me for exposing the truth. She had suspected something was going on but couldn't prove it. She's planning to talk to her lawyer about the divorce settlement since the affair started before the divorce. Edit 2: to those asking why I didn't confront her privately first, I knew she would just deny everything and find a way to spin the story in her favor, like she's done with everything else in her life. Public exposure was the only way to make sure she couldn't lie her way out of this one. Update 1: the situation has gotten much worse since my last post, and I need to get this off my chest. After the party disaster, my mother went into full damage control mode. She posted a lengthy statement on her professional social media accounts, portraying herself as the victim of a smear campaign by her jealous and unstable daughter who couldn't handle her success. In her post, she claimed that I was making up stories because I was resentful of her achievements and couldn't accept that she had found happiness again. She wrote about how hard it was to raise an ungrateful child who would turn against her own mother. She even suggested that I needed professional help and that she was deeply concerned about my mental state. The worst part was her blatant lie about the timeline of her relationship with James. She claimed they only started dating 3 months ago, long after his divorce was finalized, and that they had wanted to announce it properly at her birthday party. She wrote about how I had misinterpreted their friendly business relationship and created drama out of nothing. What she didn't know was that I had saved everything, all their messages, emails, and even pictures I found on her iPad. So I made another post, showing the actual timeline with dates and screenshots. I revealed how they had been meeting secretly in hotels while he was still married, how they had planned elaborate cover stories for their meetings, and how they had discussed keeping everything hidden until his divorce was final. This evidence caused an even bigger explosion because James had apparently lied under oath during his divorce proceedings. He had specifically stated that he wasn't involved with anyone else when he filed for divorce. Veronica's mom immediately contacted her lawyer, and now James is facing serious legal consequences for perjury. The drama got even worse when several women from my mother's support group started coming forward with their own stories. Apparently, my mother had a pattern of defending men who cheated on their wives during group sessions. She would often say things like there are two sides to every story and sometimes marriages end because women don't understand men's needs. Some women had left the group because of her suspicious attitude towards cheating husbands, but they hadn't connected the dots until now. My brother Alex, who initially thought I went too far at the party, discovered something that changed his mind completely. He found out that my mother had been dipping into his college fund to buy expensive gifts for James. She had told Alex that she had invested his tuition money in a promising new property development, but that was just another lie. She had spent nearly $45,000 on luxury watches, designer clothes, and weekend getaways with James. When Alex confronted her about the money, she tried to justify it by saying she would pay it back with interest once their relationship went public and they combined their assets. She actually expected him to be happy about having James as a stepfather. Alex was so disgusted that he packed his bags and moved in with me. He's working extra shifts at his part-time job now to make up for the lost tuition money. The publishing company that was going to release my mother's second book about successful single parenting has canceled her contract. They sent her a formal letter stating that her actions violated their morality clause. When she received this news, she completely lost it. She showed up at my workplace, screaming about how I had destroyed her life's work. She caused such a scene that my boss had to call security to remove her. She was yelling about how ungrateful we were and how we would regret turning against her. Security had to escort her out while she was still screaming threats about ruining my career like I had ruined hers. My boss was surprisingly understanding about the whole thing, but it was still mortifying. The impact has spread to James's professional life too. His business partners are distancing themselves from him because they discovered he had been giving my mother exclusive rights to sell all their properties at higher commission rates than usual. There's now an internal investigation at his company about possible kickbacks and unethical business practices. But the most shocking revelation came when I was going through old family documents. I found emails from the time of my parents' divorce that completely contradicted my mother's story about my father abandoning us. She had actually threatened to ruin his career by making false accusations at his workplace if he didn't agree to give her full custody and move away. When I contacted my father about these emails, he confirmed everything. He said he never told us the truth because he didn't want us to hate our mother or feel caught in the middle. He had agreed to move away and limit his time with us because she had threatened to make his life hell if he didn't. All these years, we believed her lies about him choosing work over family, when in reality, she had forced him out of our lives. Veronica and her mom are now working with their lawyers to use all this new evidence in their case against James. They're pushing for the divorce settlement to be reevaluated based on the proof of his affair and perjury. My mother keeps trying to contact me through different phone numbers and email addresses, alternating between tearful apologies and angry threats. James hasn't shown his face since the party. According to Veronica, he's locked himself in his apartment and is only communicating through his lawyer. His company has put him on indefinite leave pending their investigation, and most of his business partners have cut ties with him. My grandmother, who initially scolded me for the public exposure, has changed her tune after learning about what happened with Alex's college fund. She agrees that my mother's behavior is inexcusable, but she still thinks I should eventually forgive her because she's still your mother. I've blocked most of my relatives who keep trying to guilt-trip me into reconciling with her. Some of my mother's devoted followers are still defending her online, claiming that she deserves a chance at happiness and that her personal life doesn't negate the good work she's done for divorced women. But most people can see through her act now, and her carefully constructed image as a champion for women's empowerment has completely crumbled. I'm standing firm in my decision to expose their lies. Every new revelation confirms that I did the right thing. Alex and I are focusing on rebuilding our lives without her toxic influence, and for the first time, we're learning the truth about our family history. Update 2: The situation has taken several unexpected turns that I need to share. Veronica's mom won her case against James, and the court ordered him to pay $850,000 in additional settlement due to his perjury and hidden assets. But during the court proceedings, even more shocking information came to light about my mother and James's relationship. Their affair wasn't just a recent development as they had claimed. They had actually met at a real estate convention in Vegas 5 years ago, when James was still happily married, and had been having an on and off affair since then. James had deliberately chosen my mother as his real estate agent for all his company's properties to maintain regular contact without raising suspicion. The court discovered emails dating back 4 years where they discussed their long-term plan. My mother had been actively encouraging James to divorce his wife, sending him articles about how men deserve happiness and shouldn't stay in unhappy marriages. She had even helped him document every minor argument he had with his wife over the years. What made me sick to my stomach was finding out that my mother had secretly recorded conversations where James complained about his marriage. She would intentionally bring up topics that would make him vent about his wife, record these conversations without his knowledge, and then play them back to him months later to convince him that his marriage was toxic. She had basically manipulated him into believing his marriage was worse than it actually was. But that's not even the worst part. Through the legal discovery process, we found out that my mother had been using her support group to gather information about vulnerable divorced women and then targeting their ex-husbands through her real estate business. She had done this with at least 3 other couples before James. Her pattern was always the same. She would befriend newly divorced women through her support group, learn about their ex-husbands' financial situations, and then approach these men offering her real estate services. She would use the information she gathered from their ex-wives to present herself as the perfect understanding woman who gets what men go through. One of these men came forward and revealed how my mother had used information about his kids' college funds, shared by his ex-wife in the support group, to time her advances perfectly. She had approached him right when he was stressed about tuition payments, offering to help him invest in properties. He didn't fall for it, but now he understood what she had been trying to do. My brother and I have completely cut contact with her. He's still struggling to recover from losing his college fund, but our father has stepped in to help. He's helping Alex transfer to a college near him, and they're working on rebuilding their relationship. It's been healing for Alex to finally know the truth about our father. The publishing company isn't just canceling my mother's contract, they're suing her for breach of contract. Apparently, she had signed a morality clause that specifically mentioned maintaining the integrity of her brand as a women's advocate. They're demanding she return her advance plus damages for potential harm to their reputation. Veronica's mom has turned this horrible experience into something positive. She started her own support group for women who have been affected by similar situations, not just those who were cheated on, but also those who discovered their trusted confidants had betrayed them. Many women from my mother's former group have joined her, and they're planning to write a book about their experiences of betrayal and recovery. The investigation at James's company revealed that he and my mother had been running a scheme where she would get inflated commissions for property sales, and they would split the extra money. This had been going on for years, hidden through a complex system of separate bank accounts and fake consultancy fees. His business partners are now suing him for fraud. My mother's real estate license is under review by the state board. They're investigating multiple complaints about her unethical business practices, including using confidential information from her support group for business gains. Several women have filed formal complaints stating she violated their privacy by using their personal information for commercial purposes. I found an old journal of my mother's while helping Alex move his remaining stuff out of her house. It contained detailed notes about potential targets, wealthy or successful men who were in troubled marriages. She had actually been planning and executing these manipulations for years while presenting herself as a champion for women's rights. The most ironic thing is that she's still trying to play the victim. She gave an interview to a local blog claiming that she was just helping unhappy men find the courage to leave toxic marriages, and that the real victims are men who feel trapped in unhappy relationships. Needless to say, this didn't help her case with the women from her support group. Veronica and I are both in therapy now, trying to process all these betrayals. Her mom has become a real support for both of us, showing us what genuine maternal care looks like. It's been hard realizing that my mother is not just a cheater, but a calculating manipulator who has been playing this game for years. Update 3. I wasn't planning to write another update, but something happened last week that I need to share. My mother reached out again, but this time through a different approach. Her life has completely fallen apart since my last update, and it seems reality is finally catching up with her. She lost her real estate license after the state board found her guilty of multiple ethical violations. They discovered she had been using confidential information from her support group to target vulnerable clients, which violated both real estate regulations and privacy laws. The board revoked her license for 5 years and fined her $100,000. Most of her clients have abandoned her. The women from her support group spread the word in our community about her manipulative behavior, and now no one wants to work with her. She's tried to rebrand herself as a relationship coach on social media, but people keep sharing my posts exposing her lies in the comments of her new business pages. James moved to Arizona after his company's investigation uncovered years of financial irregularities in his dealings with my mother. They found evidence that he had been inflating property values and commission rates to generate extra money, which he and my mother split between them. He's facing multiple lawsuits from his former business partners and might even face criminal charges for fraud. Last week, my mother showed up at my apartment with my grandmother. She looked different, worn out and older somehow. She said she wanted to apologize to me and Alex, claiming she's changed and realizes her mistakes. She brought photo albums from our childhood and tried to remind us of better times. But when we refused to meet with her, her facade cracked quickly. She started crying about how we've ruined her life, saying she would have to sell her house because she can't afford the mortgage anymore. She blamed me for destroying her reputation, Alex for not understanding that she borrowed his college fund with good intentions, and our father for turning us against her. The final straw was when she accused Veronica and her mom of overreacting to a simple affair and suggested that they were just bitter about James choosing her. My grandmother tried to mediate, saying we should forgive her because she's still our mother, but even she looked uncomfortable with my mother's lack of genuine remorse. I'm doing much better now. Veronica and I have gotten closer through all this, and her mom has become like a real mother figure to both of us. She's shown us what genuine maternal love looks like, supporting us without manipulation or guilt trips. Her support group is thriving, and she's helping other women recognize and avoid manipulative people like my mother. My father visits regularly now, and we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. He's been helping Alex adjust to his new college, and they've developed a strong bond. Alex is doing really well in his new environment, away from our mother's toxic influence. He's even made the dean's list this semester. The legal troubles for my mother keep piling up. Several women from her former support group are pressing charges for fraud and misuse of personal information. They discovered she had kept detailed files on their finances, relationships, and personal struggles, which she used for her own gain. Their lawyers say she could face serious legal consequences for privacy violations. My mother's trying hard to play the victim on social media, posting about forgiveness and how children can be manipulated to hate their own mother. But nobody's buying her act anymore. Most people have blocked her or unfollowed her accounts. Her attempts to start a new support group in a nearby town failed when someone shared the news articles about her past behavior. I've maintained my no-contact stance, and it's honestly been the best decision for my mental health. Some relatives still try to guilt-trip me about abandoning my mother when she's down, but I've learned to ignore them. Sometimes cutting toxic people out of your life is the only way to move forward, even if they're family. The whole experience has taught me that sometimes the people who preach the loudest about morality and helping others are the ones you need to watch out for. My mother spent years building an image as a champion for women while secretly betraying and manipulating those same women. I don't regret exposing her lies, even if some people think I went too far. Sometimes public humiliation is the only way to stop manipulative people from hurting others.